at the beginning of COVID, at the beginning of COVID, um, theater, there was no theater, there was no business meetings, consulting was dying, businesses weren't. And a friend of mine asked me if I could help. Her mother died in Denver, and her sister lived in Maine, and the other sister lived in London. And can I help stream the funeral service from Denver um, to them? And I said sure, and I got myself a camera, and a better camera, better microphones, set it all up at the funeral home, and the funeral home fell in love with what I did to the point they had 7 or 8 branches in Denver. I can't remember the exact name of the funeral home, but they have 7 or 8 branches. And in the next 3 or 4 years, I did over 200 funerals streaming. Sometimes we were doing, they were connecting me with people that weren't doing funerals in the chapel, and I would do virtual funerals and life celebrations. I've done 2 life celebrations that are live people. And the last one was a live person. And he's the one that came to me and said, you would do very well as a death doula. And I didn't really like the term, so that's why I've changed it to end of life doula. There's an organization out of London called deathcafe.com, which started out years ago, where you got to a coffee shop and you sat around and talked about death, but not from a point of view of grief, but a point of view of opening up the communications so that you would talk to your friends, family, and loved ones both ways. I talk with my son has got lupus and a form of lymphoma, and he knows how I want to die, and I know how he wants to die, and we have those conversations. That's to me something that, I want to do forever. Writing it down in a will and then dying and then your family reading the will, they could just rip up the page. They don't have to go by it. But if you talk about it and you get it expressed, you can make sure that they understand your feelings. I have a patient. The patient is actually not dying yet. She's got
Yeah.
Lou Gehrig's, but her mother is in stage 4 cancer. And one of the things my friend said, my patient, is that she wishes her parents would die and stop their suffering. And I said to her, well, have you talked to them about what they want? And she went back and talked to her mother, and then came back and told me that her mother said, I want to live every possible moment with my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren. And I will do everything I need to do to fight this cancer in order to have that time with those people. So all it's just about having the conversations. And we don't in America. We don't in the Western world. They do in the Far East more than we do. And I'm hoping that I, have a revolution where people start talking about it. We provide companionship, comfort, and guidance to those facing the end of life. My non-medical holistic support encompasses emotional, spiritual, and practical care. And then I can relay whatever I'm told to the loved ones. Because sometimes when you're dying, the loved ones don't hear you.
Yeah.
Or they hear you but don't listen. So sometimes you need a mediator. There's a quote from Patch Adams, and I'm going to paraphrase, where he talks about what makes a patient and what makes a doctor. Is a doctor not somebody who just comforts somebody who is ill and dying. And that's what I'm doing. It absolutely is for the families and friends and families, loved ones. I lump them all together as loved ones. And it goes beyond the moment of death, because people have to go through a grieving process. And again, they could need the comfort and support of somebody.
Yeah.
Doctors, once you die, the doctors stop talking to the families. Atul Gawande wrote a book, and he came up with a list of 4 or 5 questions to ask people who are, what are you willing to give up or not give up in order to live in pain and suffering? And one man answered, as long as I can eat chocolate ice cream and handle the TV remote, I want to live. It really does give me chills down my spine when I talk to people and I get the thanks from them and the appreciation from them for having the conversation. Um, One patient is having some issues with her daughters about getting help from them. And I reminded her that they were teenagers. It's not, just a teenage revolutionary or revolting. And that as they get older and hopefully you're still around, it will be less burdensome to them. And in the meantime, I'm there for you.